Welcome back to Radio Channel 1471. I'm your host, Sterling. You're the listener. This is the guest, but wait. Let me say the episode. It's episode number 30, which makes this a little bit of a special episode. I don't really know why, but 30, or just any double digit with a zero in it, is a special episode to me. Anyways, who are you, guest?
Hello, I'm Rali. Yay.
Oh, now what do you do? What do you do?
I make ASMR content for YouTube.
And that's right. And you said Raleigh, right?
Yes.
Raleigh, not Rally, which a lot of people say. And I noticed you mentioned that once, and I always thought about it in my head. Have I been doing, which one have I been doing? And I wasn't too sure. So now I've been like overemphasizing the A. So now it's like Raleigh, you know?
It's okay.
But yes, you are RaliDali. Let me pull your channel up right now. I believe you're at around 1,000 subs as of the other day. Am I correct or no?
Yes. Actually,
Yes.
I just hit a couple of days ago.
Ah, yes. It's quite interesting to see your YouTube journey. You're rising pretty quickly. You're one of the newer ones that's going up in ranks pretty quick.
Yeah, it's been a lot. The response to my content has been very overwhelming, to say the least. I never expected it to be as intense as it has been, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And I am very grateful that people enjoy what I create.
Yes, and that's very good. Um, yeah, it can sometimes get the best of us if we see something's growing a little quicker than we wanted it to, but yeah. One thing I found very interesting about your channel was the Jerma video at the very beginning. And I have to wonder, what's the story behind that?
Well, long before I wanted to make ASMR content, I actually had another YouTube channel years ago and used to throw all kinds of things on there. I sort of switched over to this one within the past year, and I didn't really have any idea on what to put on it, so I'm a big fan of Jerma, and
Mm-hmm.
because how could you not be? During the Dollhouse stream, I found an incredibly funny clip with my friend group, and I put it on YouTube so that I could share it with them easier, and also in case anyone else would find it. So now it's kind of just a sore thumb sticking out in the midst of all my other content, but I keep it because I think it's kind of funny.
Yes, it's a great memento of your history. And
And it's
yeah,
a great talking point as well for
it
people who
is.
ask why it's there.
But yeah, that's actually really great. Because right around the time when I found your channel, I too was watching a bunch of Jerma. And it was only recently this month, or maybe last month, I actually watched the Dollhouse stream. And it's crazy what Jerma can do. His, like, what was it? Where he was in the desert with the, what was he, a geologist? I don't remember what that one was. And then his carnival one. It's
Oh,
crazy.
yes, the carnival one. That one was wonderful.
And just recently, Jerma's Who Will Replace Me stream. And number 13 succeeded. Or I guess I should say number 13 didn't succeed, depending on which one you want to believe.
Yes.
Uh, but
Jerma is a very interesting character that I think offers something for everybody and kind of speaks to everyone in that weird way.
that's true, that's true. Now. What else could I mention about your channel real quick? Is there anything you'd like to mention about your channel?
Uh, Aside from the thank yous that I will always continue to give, perhaps too much at times, nothing in particular, I wouldn't say, except that I am very much enjoying what I'm creating.
That's good. That's good. Oh, I remember. I remember now. Yeah, having multiple channels as we grow, because you mentioned you had an older channel. That it's very interesting talking to other people who have experiences with YouTube. And so far, I think most of them have said they've had multiple channels too. It's very interesting to see how it's kind of an unspoken thing that everybody just happens to do.
That's true. It is a bit more common than people might assume because when you're maybe like 12, 15 years old, you'll make a YouTube channel and throw up a bunch of content that at the time kind of fits with what is on the platform and what's popular. And then 5 or 6 years later, you are a different person and you want to upload different content, but your channel is full of older stuff that might not reflect you as a person or maybe just doesn't fit in with what you want to do anymore. And of course, you'll just make a new channel.
Hmm. And that's kind of what I did.
Mhm.
um, one second. I'm going to cough real quick. Oh gosh. Man. At least I've got some water nearby. Also, I should have. Did I mention to you? No, I don't think I did, but you should probably also have some water near you. This is going to be a maybe around an hour or two, hopefully.
Okay. I do have some drink here,
Very
which I've actually just
good.
taken a drink of.
Now, what might you be drinking today?
Well, nothing fancy. It's watered down Whataburger sweet tea because they made it way too sweet.
Ah, yeah. I, as I mentioned before recording, have the ceremony blend of coffee that I got a while ago. And apparently it was an experimental bean that they had at the store. And it was a little pricey, I'll be honest, but it's funky and it shows. But yeah, it was really interesting, an interesting story about that coffee. It was from what was it from? Golden Hour Coffee, I believe is what the shop is called. And it's an amazing little shop. I know I mentioned to you about the shop a while ago. But in the shop, what makes it so special to me is that they have an Eagle One espresso machine. And it's crazy. When I saw that thing, I was like, whoa! It's like the one James Hoffman talked about. And it got my coffee nerd going. And I couldn't stop staring at it the entire time I was there, just drinking my, I think it was a latte. And you know what? It's the first coffee shop I've been to that actually tried to do latte art. And I was amazed.
Really?
Yeah.
I suppose it's not as common as I thought, at least.
Oh, I don't know. I think in my little notebook that I have, I don't actually it's right there. But I think I've written down notes from about maybe 5 or 6 cafes, and I think most of them I got a latte. And yeah, that was the only one that actually attempted to do latte art. To be fair though, there was this one place where I think they tried to do latte art, but it kind of just turned into a blob.
Sounds about like what happens when I would try to do it.
Yeah. I've been meaning to try to learn how to do it. Oh, excuse me. One moment. Ooh. I've been trying to learn how to do it for a while now, but at the same time, the little frother that I got, it's just a cheap little electric one, and it's not great. It's all foam, no milk, no matter
Ah,
what setting.
I see.
But, but, that might be a good thing in one case, because there was this one. Actually, now that I think about it, I'm kind of getting sidetracked. This is your episode.
No, you're the host. It's interesting to hear about.
Oh, okay. But, yes, there's this book in the early stages of when I was trying to get books and stuff to learn more about coffee. There's this book called I it's actually right over there. The light's not on, but I'm pretty sure it's called like The Barista's Secret to Latte Art or something. And it's like 3D foam latte art. I don't know if you've ever seen it or not.
I think I've seen pictures of it online, but never in person.
Yes, but it's really, I don't know, it's really neat to see it because uh, I don't know if it's this one person I follow on Twitter, but there's at least one Twitter account that does nothing but like latte art tweets, and they do amazing things. Like they've done Dio from JoJo, and I think they've done some Animal Crossing stuff. They've done, I don't know, they just do everything. It's really neat to see their process. Because I believe what they do is they get this little tiny paintbrush, and they dip it in chocolate and paint over the foam.
Ooh, that I have seen before.
Yeah. So
I
there's,
will say, it would be interesting to be handed a cup of coffee and it has Dio's face in it.
yeah. Ugh. Gotta take a sip of coffee real quick. It's getting cold really quick, which is very interesting about my room. It like sucks up the heat from all my coffee for some reason. Alrighty, back on you though. Sorry for getting a little sidetracked there. Gotta gotta find more things to talk about in regards to you, because this might be my podcast, but this is your episode, which means this is your podcast for the time being. Um,
Well, if you allow me, then I will take over.
yes, please do. Go on.
I say that and then cannot think of a thing to say.
It's
I
a
just
very, it's a very tough thing. Uh, me, I get complimented on my voice a lot at like school and stuff whenever I'm reading things, but at the same time, it's very hard to do it after being complimented or given like the room to do it, and then everybody's watching, and then it's like, ah, now I can't do my normal voice anymore. I don't know what to do.
yes.
And then with the podcast specifically, I try to talk as much as I can to close the gaps so that it's easier during editing, because you don't want air gaps or else it'll be awkward silence. Although, apparently, I think a long time ago, some people said they liked that.
Hmm. It can make it seem slightly more natural in some ways.
Yes.
Though I also think it is a little unavoidable sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Also, I just now remembered what we could talk about in regards to you.
Oh,
A little bit ago, yesterday at 3:11 a.m. Yes, I'm keeping time of these. You said have scheduled many streams plus events over the years. I'm really interested to know more about that because I would have never guessed something like that about you.
really?
Yes, I do know you have a Twitch, but like, I don't know. It's very hard to think of somebody past what they mainly do, and I don't know. It's hard to describe.
I understand. Well, aside from my terrible sleep schedule, which has now been exposed, yes, I have scheduled many streams and special events, which I wouldn't consider extremely impressive things per se. Though over the years, I have scheduled events and videos and charity streams, for instance,
Ooh.
and organized things for that, and also produced graphics and otherwise for them. And on the offline sense, I actually run a club in which I schedule events inside of my university.
Hmm, that's really neat. Not only are you a good person around people, but you're a good person in the sense that you donate. You're charity. You're a charity person.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
I try.
Yeah.
I think there's always things to lend a hand to and help others with.
That's very good. It's very good of you. Um, what else was that? Oh, yes. Something I bring up with every guest, and which I haven't been asking people as much as I should have recently. What is your favorite coffee or tea drink?
Well, considering I don't drink coffee very much, I know blasphemy, I am sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that I do love a hot chai tea latte
Ooh.
from Starbucks because I have not had a proper one to my knowledge. If I have, it was a long time ago. In fact, I actually had one today.
Oh.
And since I worked there for a almost 2 years, I learned how to make it specifically to my tastes. So I would say it's probably that one. Just tea in general, I sweet tea all the way, just iced tea, which is pretty basic.
No, no, we all have our own preferences, and that's fine. Very interesting about the chai tea thing. I only worked at Starbucks for 4 months, which means you're technically a more experienced barista than I am.
I would beg to differ.
But yeah, when I worked there, there were many people, many people who would go in there and they would be known as the person who only ever gets the chai tea. I believe a lot of people is very interesting during pumpkin spice season when we had the pumpkin cold foam. It was there was like a sudden resurgence in nothing but people who would order large orders of the chai iced tea with pumpkin foam. And I was always so curious about it. I don't think I ever tried it, but I kept on telling people that I would. But
That's
yeah,
interesting.
um, there was also this one person. Did you? Yeah, you worked during pumpkin. I was about to ask if you worked during pumpkin spice season. You worked there for 2 years. But there was this one person who came through, and they were very adamant that the chestnut praline. I don't remember if it was in like a. I think they put chestnut praline in the chai tea, or they just got nothing but the chestnut praline. But they were very adamant that that was the way to go. And they made it their life's goal to make sure I knew that. And they were like, you have to try this chestnut praline. It is the only thing I ever get here, and is the only thing you should try.
It does sound kind of good. I'll tell you, the chestnut praline always smelled really good whenever I would put it into a drink.
Hmm.
I miss working there a
Yes,
lot of
me
times.
too. Tell me your stories, because I'm very curious what the more experienced Starbucks barista has to tell.
Well, with more experience comes more good moments, yet also there were some bad ones. I worked from the summer of 2019 until I believe almost the summer of 2021. I think until early spring, maybe, actually. I went back and forth and took long breaks due to academics, so it was hard to remember. But so I worked when the pandemic started, and my kiosk was located in a grocery store by one of the entrances, a very tiny kiosk that about 80% of the time I was running by myself and had to close by myself, which was stressful at times, but also very nice
I
because
I
I
was
could do whatever I wanted.
I was just about to say that has always been my dream to just be because I at least always see these videos of like these Asian coffee shops in like Korea and stuff, and they're like opening shift of a cafe solo, and it's just this like calm little thing where they're just going back and forth, but it's so calm and like precise, and I don't know, there's just a vibe that I really enjoy about it.
There really is, and it's usually it's really quiet and it's really enjoyable when you don't have a huge line of customers. Sometimes you will get a long line, and since you're the only one, if you're making drinks, then nobody can do the dishes and
Mm,
nobody can prepare other things for closing. So that is when it would get stressful. But
mm,
I will say that happened. I remember those times less than I remember the times where it was much calmer and it was just me doing dishes and tidying up, making everything look nice. It was really lovely because it was like I was my own manager in some way.
Man, that sounds great. Huh. I cannot, for the life of me, remember what I was gonna say about that. There was some. Oh, I remember now. Okay, okay. You said you worked around the pandemic time. When I first started, I worked during like when was it? It was earlier. It was like around Labor Day last year.
I see.
So, huh. I don't know. For some reason in my mind, I can't really place a date to that other than that. But when I first started, our shop was only drive through, nothing else. So it was a very different experience, especially when the cafe finally opened up again. And I don't know. I don't. The cafe wasn't bad, but at the same time, our like staff leads and our managers, or just the one manager, I guess, they would always close the cafe at random times and they wouldn't really say anything. And when they did, they made it like this big deal and they do it like at the most random of times. And I don't know. So I never truly got a full cafe and drive through experience until around the end. But they just kept on changing the hours and I don't know. It was very interesting.
Yeah, that sounds really strange. I'm not sure why that would be the case. I will say that one of my favorite parts about working there was the customers. And of course, you have some customers who are less than ideal in some ways, as being nice as possible. But I suppose you deal with those at any point. Side note, please treat all workers with respect.
Yes.
But uh, I loved most of my customers. I remembered what drinks they have. I would see them in the parking lot walking into the store, and before they would get there, I would have their drink ready for them to go, and then they would pay without even thinking, and we would just strike up a conversation.
Ooh.
I remember I had this wonderful and sweet lady um, who would always order. She had like a protein drink every day that she would come in with. So she would get espresso shots over ice with caramel in the cup, and would always like was like specific about it, but in a very nice way. And I learned it very quickly. And she was always really excited whenever she'd see me, and she'd be like, "Hello." So it was experiences like that made me love the job so much.
Yes, there are some really nice customers you can meet. I think I've mentioned this to you before, but I think it was in text, but there was this car. I think they always drove like a truck or something, but they'd always go through the drive-through. And they work at the local theater around here, and not like movie theater, like the theater. And they're very nice. And when I first met them, I was like, "You two look familiar." I didn't actually. Apparently, I was just confusing them with somebody else, but they did look familiar. And I asked them, and they said, "Well, I work. She works at the theater, and I'm her mom." And I was just like, "No, I don't know y'all from there." But at the same time, that's really interesting. And they were like, "Yeah, yeah, thank you." And then we just started talking and talking, and then they became like reoccurring customers, which I don't know. It's strange how there are definitely reoccurring customers, but these were like, you know, the known reoccurring customers to me.
Hmm.
And they would go through, and every time they would see me, they were really nice, and we would always have a conversation. They'd always tip. I don't know why. I never asked. I always was like, "No, no, you don't have to." But they always did. And it was the saddest thing because the last like week of my 2 weeks, they came through and they were like, "Sorry, we can't tip you now, but next time we come through, we're gonna leave you like $20 or something." And I was
Oh
all
no,
like, "Oh no, that's really
no.
sad because I'm not gonna be here next time." And they were all like, "Oh no, we loved you." Uh, I miss those people.
It's always nice whenever you're leaving a job like that. People, when you tell your customers about it, they're actually sad to see you go. They're not just like, oh, okay, I didn't know your name anyway, whatever. They're like, oh,
Yes.
it's sad, I'll miss you.
Yeah. Um, there was also another interesting story. Because, real quick, did you ever get a Starbucks hat?
Yes,
Yes, okay.
I still have it, actually.
Me too. I wear it like all the time. Well, also because it's like the only hat I have. But, anyways, when I first started working there, I very quickly took notice of the, what is it called? Coffee gear? And I was like, I have to get some actual uniform stuff because I have to look professional as a barista, I feel. So I got the hat and I also got a shirt, but it didn't fit me. But I always wore like very formal wear, I guess you could say, not too formal. But when I went in and I first wore the hat, one of the people who've been working there for years were like, "You got a hat? I've been working here for years and I don't have a hat. Where's my hat?" And then they like walked off with their raised hands and they're like, "Ugh." And I don't know if I've ever seen another person at my location wear the hat, except for maybe somebody who came from another store to help us out one time. And because I wore the hat and I had like the Starbucks mask, I was working window once and this lady came through and she got her drink and she was like, "Oh, look at you. Can you hold my drink real quick?" And then and I held her drink and I was like, "Okay." And then she was like, click. And then she said, "I'm going to post this on Instagram." So I am somewhere on someone's Instagram right now and I have
My
no
goodness.
idea where.
That's sweet. Did you get a Starbucks apron too?
Yes, I have a green apron and a red apron, which
Me
they
too.
did not ask for back. Did you turn yours in when you left?
I did not.
You did not. Okay.
They just allowed me to keep it.
I I felt like I should have returned the aprons because my location specifically, or at least before our manager quit without leaving 2 weeks notice,
Oh
our
no.
location was very not stocked, I guess you could say, with the aprons and stuff. And I don't know, it's a very complicated situation with our area. But the red apron specifically, at the meeting we had when we were going into the holiday season, the manager said, "Guess what, guys? We're all going to have our own red apron this time." And that was half true. All of the people who were there originally got a red apron, but there were a couple of people who joined who did not get red aprons. So then we looked like red and green baristas walking around the store. So it was very interesting.
Christmas baristas.
Yes.
So it
Uh,
kind of works.
yeah, it kind of worked. Um, hmm.
You know,
What else?
I can relate to the person who never got the hat at Starbucks because I never got a name tag. So
Ah,
I never, nobody ever knew my name really except unless they asked.
ah,
And
yes.
I would see people who come in and they get a name tag and I'd be like, I want a name tag. It would never happen.
It was very funny about the name tags with us. Our app, when I first joined, I got the name tag, the little metal plate thing, and she was like, "Wear the name tag. It's not too crazy, but yeah, just wear it." And I didn't wear it too often, but I would try. And because our location, I don't know what's up with our location, but apparently we're like the worst in our region for some reason. Oh, excuse me, one second. Oh, ugh, there's something bubbling up there. But yeah, we're like the worst in our region for some reason. And the downside about that is that we had our regional manager staring at us practically the entire time. He would always come down He would always check on our store at the most random times. He would always, like, I don't know, he would camp out. He would come, not tell anybody, camp out, watch, and then berate our manager for stuff that we would get wrong. And I don't know, it was very not great with that. And every time we would have not enough staff, we would have to get help from another location. And our location is very like isolated from everything else. So they'd always have to come like an hour or two away. But whenever they would, they were always, I don't know how you'd say it, but they'd be a little more, you know how like there are dedicated baristas to the Starbucks name?
Hmm.
They would always be like that. And so then, since I was fairly new, I wasn't too great with keeping up with the name tag thing. But then there was this one time they came through, and the person who came, they were very on point with checking that, and they got to me, and everybody else they did this to with too. But they were like, "Oh, you don't have a name tag. Do we have any name tags everywhere?" And then they like run to the back, look for name tags, look around, not find any. And then they'd like tear a piece of paper off of something and get a paperclip and say, "Write your name on this, put this on." So that's what we did.
My goodness.
And then I got like another name tag for some reason when another person came, even to know I already had my name tag. So that was interesting. And I don't know, the name tag situation was a very small thing, but a very noticed thing when any other person would come and help.
Hmm. I will say since my Starbucks was inside of a grocery store, it's it was treated almost like an exclave of another country in a weird
Yeah.
way. So our Starbucks was like on foreign territory, which was
Yes.
owned by the grocery store. So
Yes, yes. I
we
actually,
were not we were not Starbucks employees. We were grocery store
yes.
employees.
I have a lot to mention about that. So, I was very intrigued about that. Because you know how I go to cafes and I write stuff down?
Hmm.
I went to a mall Starbucks and I was like, I work at Starbucks now. Maybe I can ask them about when I'll get my partner number and stuff. And I'll ask them some questions. I can be a fellow barista. And I went up to them. It was in a Barnes and Noble. And I said, "Do you know anything about the partner number stuff?" And they were like, uh, no, we're not actually a Starbucks. We just have the ability to sell Starbucks products. And I was like, huh. So y'all aren't Starbucks employees? And they're like, no, we're employees of Barnes and Noble. And I was like, huh. And let me tell you, something that really caught my eye was that they had you know how in mixology, do you know anything about mixology?
I know the term and I know what it relates to.
Okay.
But that's the extent of my knowledge.
So, you know what a French press looks like, right?
Hmm.
It's a large glass thing, and there's basically one of those in mixology where it's like, I don't know what you would actually call it, but it's this large glass cylinder. And they had one of those, and they had a bar spoon, and I don't remember what I got, but I think it was like a pumpkin spice latte because I never had one before. And I asked them for that. And they mixed it in that. And I was like, what? We don't have one of those. I want that. And I don't know, it was a little extra, but I was very intrigued because I wonder, did y'all do things differently?
We did, but nothing like that per se. It was mostly just along the lines of things we didn't have.
Mm,
So, because we weren't Starbucks employees, we didn't have partner numbers. And in fact, I didn't even know that was a thing until long after I left.
I am
Uh,
very sad for you
yes,
because it
and
is a
that
very good thing.
it also meant we did not get any Starbucks benefits. So, we didn't
Yeah.
get free coffee at
Oh,
the end of the month. Our manager would tell us about it, and she was upset because she was a great manager. I loved her. And she was upset because we wouldn't get any of those perks. We didn't even get free water from the
What?
tap at the store.
What?
It was
Oh, that's
terrible.
insane.
Um, but we didn't have nitro cold brew. We also didn't have some seasonal offerings, and since our kiosk was so much smaller, we didn't have any protein packs or whatever they're called. And I think mostly the procedures and things were roughly the same, except that we all kind of had a little code that we ran things less by the book and more the way the customers liked it. So I would
Interesting.
say that's kind of the only way it was different because, for instance, I would do just a little bit less uh, base in the frappuccinos that I would make just because it made it more like a smoothie
Ooh.
for the customers. That's a whole nother story. I came up with my own frappuccino, which was exactly like an Oreo milkshake. But I will go into that later. But I think all in all, everything was roughly the same, apart from minus the benefits and a lot of the other features.
Wow, that is very surprising. That is, I don't know, the partner number, at least I felt, was a very, very crucial part to everything we did. Because, like, we'd have to clock in with our partner number. We had to clock out with our partner number. We had to sign into the website for Starbucks with our partner number. We had to log into the POS with the partner number. We had to, we did everything with our partner number. So I
That's
can't,
interesting.
I can't imagine how y'all would. I don't know. That's, huh. And
We were
also,
never required to log into the Starbucks website. I don't think I
ooh,
ever have.
wow. We had to like make our own Starbucks profile. There's like this whole Starbucks, like, I don't want to call it a, what do you call it? A
An
social,
iceberg?
you know how like Twitter is its own thing?
Hmm.
It's like a Starbucks partner social hub. And
Oh, that's weird.
yeah, and we had to like make our profiles, put our hobbies on there, put like our history. I don't know that. Hmm. But I'm also very intrigued by how you said y'all were able to do it for the customer because I've noticed that too with Starbucks. I've always wanted to do things a little differently for the customer, but that's sounds really neato. But at the same time, it sounds kind of painful.
It depends on the customer. Sometimes customers would ask for really weird things. Like I think, and this is a little side tangent. I think the worst thing that I've ever made at Starbucks by request of a customer was I think it was a strawberry frappuccino with matcha in it and an espresso shot.
Guess what?
What?
I was one of those people.
You had
I
no.
I purposely, when I first joined Starbucks, I was like, okay, I haven't tried any of these drinks. I have to try the most random things, and I have to make one of these baristas think I'm weird by making a weird drink. Because I would always try, and I was like, I'm gonna ask for something a little weird. I'm gonna put blah 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 and blah blah blah, and they were just like, nah, man, I've seen that before all the time. And it's just like, what? There's no way you've seen somebody make this. So I went out of my way to make a drink so disgusting and unmade before that they would have to react to it. And so I don't remember what it was, but it was basically what you said. It was the matcha, it was the frappuccino, it was the affogato shot, and I think I put something else in it too that made it weird. I think I put dragon fruit inclusions in it and maybe caramel drizzle.
Oh,
Yes, it wasn't great, but it was somewhat drinkable.
you sat and drank it like the
Yeah,
whole thing?
in the cafe, me and
Oh
my
no.
brother, he got a somewhat, he just got, I think he got like a refresher blended, which is actually a really cool thing though. I'll
It
probably talk
is.
about too. But he got that, and I got my crazy weird thing, and we sat in the cafe. I drank like maybe a third or a half of it, and the entire time I was just like, this is gross. This is gross. And it changed. As you drank it, it would change in flavor completely.
That's so weird.
Yes.
That's, I mean, I suppose it makes sense. The entire drink is weird, no offense. It was certainly, I think, one of the weirdest things that I ever made while I was there. Though, that was for a customer. I would make my own things in my free time. I'm not sure if we were supposed to experiment, but I always would, just for fun. And I would just claim that I was making it for myself.
Hmm.
And usually I was. A coworker and I actually made, we called it the Starbucks suicide. It's similar
Ooh.
to like a suicide at the soda fountain where you just get all of the sodas in the cup.
I always thought that was called a kamikaze.
It might be.
Well, I
I
think
could
it
be
goes both
confusing my
ways.
name.
No, I think it goes both ways.
One just sounds nicer. But so it was I believe it was every syrup pump combined into a frappuccino. Uh, I don't believe it had any coffee,
Hmm.
uh, since it would just overpower most of the flavors. Um, Even though they were all mixed together anyway. But we tried it. We made it, my coworker and I, and we tried it, and it tasted weird, but it was actually delicious.
Hmm.
But it was incredibly sweet. But what we did is we put out samples of it in like little sample
What?
cups, and we left a little note and said, I think it straight up said, free samples, Starbucks suicide, every syrup, or something describing what it was. We had a lady who came and grabbed a sample and tried it and liked it and left, and I think I never saw her again. So,
Huh.
and she had come in before because I had recognized her just vaguely. I can't remember if she ever came in after that. So that was the weirdest. I think the best drink, though, that I made was the aforementioned Oreo milkshake Frappuccino. And I could go into details about the exact recipe if you would like.
Please do.
So it is a vanilla bean Frappuccino base. Instead of whole milk, it's heavy whipping cream.
Oh.
I'm trying to remember. It's been so long since I've actually made it. I think it has mocha cookie crumble pieces in the blender, so you put it in. It has chocolate chips. Um, I think it has vanilla syrup. I had it written down. I might be able to find a picture of it somewhere. Um, and sorry, I'm trying to remember. And it had an extra scoop of vanilla bean. That's what it was. And then the no coffee and the standard cream base for the Frappuccino, double blended and topped with mocha drizzle and whipped cream.
Hmm.
And it was incredibly good.
I'll
In
have
fact, one of
to
my favorites.
try to see if I can maybe get a hold of one of those.
I made it for a customer who asked specifically for something that's not on the menu and is good.
Oh.
I said, okay. So I had just come up with it, I think, a couple of hours before in my free time, and I had been perfecting the recipe.
Oh.
And he tried it, and he was in love with it. And he would come in every now and then and just look at me and be like, I want your special. I was like, okay. And then go back and make it and hand it to him, and it was great.
That's amazing. Now you mentioned how y'all were able to, or how you were able to experiment and stuff. We were kind of told not to do that. We were told specifically, one, do not check yourself out a drink or something on your own thing. Two, do not waste company stuff. Three, if you do make anything, pay for it or do it on your own time outside of work. Four, what else was it? There was some, I don't know, there was something very specific about it. that they definitely did not want us doing. And they were like, if we ever see you doing that, we will write you down a referral.
Oh,
Yes.
that sounds. Hmm.
It, the upper management with our area was very strict on us because of our rating, and they would always watch us. They would always make sure we weren't doing anything wrong. And they even, at a meeting once, they specifically had our manager tell us, you can be fired very quickly if you get 2 referrals. No questions asked.
My goodness.
Yes.
We were told something along similar lines. We had the write-up system. That was a thing that we did have. I think only 2 of my coworkers ever got written up, and it was for a terrible close on Christmas Eve.
Ooh.
Uh, that was a horror story, if I'd ever heard one. Um, but it was Christmas Eve, so I suppose it's understandable to a degree. But anyway, we probably were not supposed to experiment, but my manager liked me to the point where either she did not know or she did not care. I strove to be our the best employee there in terms of how clean everything was and how things were run and prepared. Um, and I think maybe to a degree, my manager kind of looked the other way about certain things, and I would still pay for my drinks. Whatever I would make, I would pay for.
Hmm.
So it wasn't technically lost, but maybe I was not supposed to be, though it did help drive more customers, I think, coming in for more interesting things.
That's good.
So,
It's really great to hear that you were striving to be the barista. Being I don't know, something about it like there's a very mental thing deep inside my brain where it's just like you have to try to be the best barista you can be for the
yes,
purpose of the customers. And it's I don't know.
exactly.
But yeah, my manager, or my old one at least, was very kind of half and half, like a two-faced thing.
Mm.
Be really nice one day, and then the other day they'd just kind of like hate everybody and yell at people. Oh, excuse me. Ah. Oh. Ah. Ooh, sorry for that.
You're
Um,
good.
but yeah, she would yell at customers, she would yell at employees, she would kind of like, I don't know, apparently she, I guess I shouldn't get too deep into it, but like, I don't know. But there was this one fellow barista of mine that worked with me, and I didn't know how to make a, it's not called a red eye, what is it called?
A green eye?
No. It's the espresso based drink. You use
Oh,
a
Americano?
no. It's no bubbles in the foam. What was it called?
Is it the one where you pour the foam a certain way?
Yeah, you have to pour the foam a certain way. The espresso shot, I believe, is
I know what you're talking about. I can't
yes.
remember the name either.
But yeah, I didn't know how to make that. And the barista was like, "Oh yeah, here, let me show you." And they were all like, "Start steaming your milk this way, and do it like this, and blah blah blah, and then get a little cup and put it over there. Here, you can make. Here, I'll make this one, and I'll show you the difference between how if you make it one way and don't do this thing, it'll make it different." It was really cool because they showed me all the differences in how you could mess it up. But at the same time, another person, another staff lead was like, "Hey, yo, why are these cups here?" And then they were all like, "Oh, sorry, I was just showing them how to make this," and blah, blah, blah. And they were like, "Okay, okay, just make sure you throw those away." So, yeah,
Goodness.
it
Seem,
was, it's very, it's very interesting.
yeah, it seems a little strict. Especially for training purposes. I think that would be okay.
Oh, they never finished training me.
To be
I,
honest, me neither.
yeah, when I first started working there, for about most of the time, nobody knew who was training me. And when they did find out who was training me, I only worked with them like 3 times. And I don't know. It was very interesting. They never taught me how to do food. They never taught me dishes. And I think that's all they didn't teach me. But those were very important things.
Yes. I think I went about 2 months without being certified. So I was an uncertified barista, and everyone had to work around me because of
Ooh.
company policy. Even though I knew how to do everything, my manager was just so busy, could not get around to certifying my barista-ness.
I don't know if I've ever heard of that before. Certified.
Certification
Yeah,
or...
certification.
Huh.
Huh. Yeah, no. We never had that problem. Although there was the food handler's card that we had to get that
Ah,
my
yes.
the manager never told me about. And apparently I worked for a good while without it. And they were like, "Oh, you need that." And I was like, "Oh, okay. How do I do that?" And they were like, "Oh, just go to any website and send me it in an email." I was like, "Okay." Then we got that handled.
I
So,
had mine from my previous job, so I didn't have to worry about it, thankfully.
ah,
Also, I just remembered. Was the drink the flat white?
yes, flat white.
Yes, I remember.
Very good. Now, was it blonde espresso shots, right? Blonde espresso, what was it called? Ristretto?
Ristretto.
Yes.
We did not actually have blonde espresso
You
because our
didn't have
machine was
it.
so old.
Oh, that's interesting.
Our machine was, I think, from 2008 and was bad.
Hmm.
It was down, I would say, at least 40% of the time. There were times where our oven and our espresso machine was down, so we could only make refreshers and frappuccinos.
What?
It was very interesting. It was always kind of funny when I would go into work, though, and my coworker would be like, "Guess what? Oh, she named our espresso machine, and I don't remember the name."
Huh.
So she'd say, "Oh, whatever name is broken again. No espresso." So
I,
we would just make. We'd have to turn away so many customers. I would always feel so bad.
I could not imagine working without the espresso machine. Wow. So our customers, we're in like a touristy town, but there are very dedicated returning customers. And the returning ones, most of them, aren't good ones. And it's
Oh,
very sad. But if you mess up their drink or if you can't make their drink, they'll get very angry. And they'll make it a point to make somebody know how angry they are. Specifically, one person who would always get not a brown sugar oatmeal shaken espresso, but just a normal shaken espresso. And I think it had like vanilla in it, but it was like unsweetened vanilla. And if you made it normal vanilla, they would try to get you fired, and they
oh
would
no.
make it a point to yell at you, and they would tell your manager, and they would. It was crazy.
I had my fair share of customers like that. Oh,
Ugh. Um.
I
Hmm.
I did have my fair share of customers like that. Some of them, I guess, got so angry they decided not to return anymore, which, given how they would usually act, was okay with me. Um, because some people were, less nice than others and would make it a point all the time to try and do that. But I had one customer who was very, very specific about certain things with their drink. And also, they would get a sandwich that they were very specific about. And what it required you to do was take a frozen sandwich, take it apart using tongs only, because we didn't have gloves nearby. It was usually too long with the big line that we had at this time of day.
We
So
do that.
usually you would use tongs and try and take apart the sandwich without the cheese on the sandwich crumbling to pieces because it was frozen, which was very difficult. And if that happened, they would get very upset.
Hmm.
And they were nice sometimes. They were not mean per se, but they were just a little passive aggressive sometimes if you were to do something not to their standards per se.
I don't know if we've ever had any passive aggressive. It's always nice or mean. There is no in between with them. Um, oh, I'm
Well, you know what
thinking,
they say. Some people just haven't had their coffee yet.
yes. Um, I'm getting to the point to where I feel like you might have to take over for a little bit here. So,
You okay?
yeah, it's just, I think I gotta cough for a second here.
You're good. I think back. I remember you mentioned earlier the pumpkin cream cold brew with the cold foam that was on top. That was always one of my favorite things, the seasonal things. I didn't like the coffee itself per se. I liked the cold foam. So whenever a customer would order it, I would always make sure I make just a little bit extra and then pour the remainder into my cup because I didn't have enough room to put it into theirs.
Hmm.
And I would put it into a little sample cup for myself because it was always just so good by itself. It was probably not very good for you, but it was always good.
Huh. Uh, I have a question about y'all's tea.
Of
Y'all
course,
had tea, right?
we did.
Just making sure. So, when the day is over and it's closing time, what do y'all do with your tea?
We would just dispose of it, no matter how much was left.
Nothing else? You wouldn't be like, want some tea?
No, we were. That was one thing that our manager was very strict on, and if not a Starbucks
Interesting.
manager, our grocery store manager, who we had one who was extremely helicoptery per se. In
Hmm.
fact, there's a whole story about her coming in getting very upset at one of my coworkers when my coworker had a very long line because my said coworker could not go and sweep an area that was away from Starbucks. Um, and needless to say, that manager was not at the grocery store for very long afterwards. I digress. But we were not allowed to take anything home with us at the end of the day, so all food and all drinks and everything would have to be disposed of,
Interesting, interesting.
which
Huh.
made me very sad because it was so much good food going to waste.
Well, before our manager, the one that I mainly worked with, left just suddenly, um, we would always have this little thing where during closing we would be like, "Hey, do you want some tea? Get a cup, choose any size, make whatever you want. I don't care. Take the tea," and then we'd dump it out until our manager quit, and then the regional manager was there, and the regional manager saw one of us doing that. Wasn't me. Don't put any watchful eyes on me. I'm not breaking the rules. I swear.
Mm-hmm.
But the regional manager saw this, and they're all like, what? No, you're not supposed to do that. Dump it out." And they're like, "Oh, okay." And from that day on, I don't know if they've ever done it.
I see. I never understood that. It's why would you not allow people? It's going to be disposed of anyway. You'll be losing the money regardless.
Hmm.
So why not just allow somebody to take it?
I don't know.
Especially the employees who have, well, made it themselves in the morning.
Hmm.
I never really understood. I guess in their eyes, a disposal, you can't make the act of disposing something. You cannot make that pay for the drink. But somebody who's actively taking the drink, you can make the person pay for the drink rather than
Yes.
just take it for free.
I think it might be a little bit because of, you know how Starbucks has a lot of proprietary things. The
Hmm.
tea specifically, I don't know if it's all Tivana tea, but there's a story with that. A long time ago, because I know I've mentioned to you, not the podcast listeners, that my sister got me into the whole coffee and tea thing, and she was all about tea. And she would always try to get loose leaf tea. And the first place she went to go get loose leaf tea was in the local mall at a Tivana shop, because Tivanas used to be their own thing with their own loose leaf tea, their own, like, brand.
Hmm.
And then Starbucks bought them, and then the store disappeared. And
Oh,
then, later on, I worked at Starbucks, and then I noticed they had Teavana tea. And I was like, oh! So not only did they acquire them, but they also use it in their own store. Very interesting. And whenever I go to the grocery store, I can find Teavana tea, but I can only find like two or three different types in these very small prepackaged bags. And I don't know. But like with their refreshers and stuff, you can't make or find a strawberry acai anywhere else. That's all proprietary, you
mhm.
know? So I'm thinking it might be something like that.
Possible. I will say I have seen boxes of those mixes online for sale on eBay. And there was a very small moment, probably only about a few seconds, that I saw that and was like, I could make some money here.
Oh,
But
no, 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 no.
I did not. I could not. I liked my job too much to
Yes.
A, either be fired? Okay. Either be fired or otherwise go against the company in that way.
Yes.
So I would not want to do that.
When I was hired, you know how everybody is supposed to get their guide, their
Hmm.
Starbucks, like, employee partner guide thing?
I still have mine, actually.
They never gave me one,
Oh no.
which was very sad. And then I ended up getting my brother hired. And then they gave him one. They gave him a lot of things that they never gave me. And I was very much jealous. And I was like, I never got a guide. I'm trying to be the best barista I can be. And y'all haven't even given me half the things you've given him. They gave him the samples. They gave him the little coffee tasting. They gave him the guide. They gave him all the stuff. And I was like, what? I didn't get any of that.
You were robbed.
Yes. So then I read the guide and I was like, oh, it says right here, do not like, e- not expose, but like, don't release any proprietary company information out to the public. And I think it might have mentioned something else about the selling of stuff. But I'm yes, it's a very good idea for you not to have sold it on eBay.
Hmm.
At the same time, though, apparently you can just walk up to a Starbucks and be like, hey, I'd like to buy some of your syrups. And if they have it on stock, you can.
I had that happen several times. We had some customers who were actually regulars. They would buy some syrups for their home
Hmm.
coffee, which I always found interesting that Starbucks would allow that, but not allow other things.
Yes. Um, yeah, I never personally saw anybody buy a syrup, but I have heard from my brother that they have done that. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And now we have some pumps. I don't really use them that much because I don't put anything in my coffee, but they are useful in the future when I want to do a little more specialized things.
Ooh,
Yes.
sounds fancy. I like it.
Alrighty. Now I do feel like we have been talking about coffee for quite a while now, and um, I believe we should probably move on to something a little more attuned to you in topic wise, because I know there are going to be people who watch this episode and are going to be like, I'm here for RaliDali talk.
Okay. Well, they got a side of coffee along with it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to think of something. Apologize for the gap.
That's okay.
So, would you like me to just talk about anything? I know this is like kind of breaking the flow.
Oh,
Sorry.
no, no, that's okay. Yeah, just anything really.
Hmm. Well, about. I suppose I could talk more about my. A little bit about my previous YouTube channel and how YouTube as a whole started for me, and also what got me interested in ASMR.
Yes.
It's all
Oh,
somewhat connected.
yes, I totally forgot. in the Pocket Fox episode. Very interesting about Pocket Fox. He seems to be very interested in learning about people's origins when it comes to the furry ASMR community and just ASMR and stuff in general. And when we did that episode, I found it very interesting how interested he was into learning the origin of my ASMR upbringing. So, what
I am also
is.
interested. I like hearing people's stories about that and how they get into it and how they discover it.
Yes, but I'd like to know about your origin.
That is very fair. So, um, well, ASMR specifically, I have. I don't remember when the first time I heard about it was. I know I had kind of forgotten until recently, but I made a joke in, I think, about 4 years ago about ASMR or something. I was talking very close to a microphone in a voice chat with people and made a joke about doing ASMR. So I've known about it since at least then. I don't know exactly when I learned about it or how, but I didn't know about furry ASMR specifically, which I enjoy all types, but specifically furry ASMR is something that I trend towards just because, well, who doesn't like the idea of a fluffy animal just comforting them? It's a very nice thing. Um, I came across Snowball originally
Oh.
um, through my partner, actually, who showed me, I think it was I would say probably late 2020 it was. So really not that long ago. And I was at first very weirded out by it, not really in a bad way. It was just, it's not something I had listened to before. And I was like, this is strange, but I like it a lot. It's making me feel really weird. So I looked into it more. I watched more of Snowball's content and discovered it's a whole thing and have been an avid listener of Snowball ever since. And along the way, have also discovered other artists or ASM artists such as Pocket and Arrowheart and also Echo Fade and a few other smaller ones as well, who it's been really interesting to see a lot of them grow. And I never expected that I would be
One of them?
one of them, but I am glad that I started it. I had been interested since getting my fursuit, which I got um, at MFF 2021, so early December. I had always joked when I got a fursuit I would do more stuff because no one would really know who I was, and also I'm fluffy creature, so it's more appealing, I thought. And I always kind of joked about making ASMR myself or trying it. And I thought about it and I made some attempts, but my microphone I had was not very good, so I got a new one as a birthday present. And I decided that I would try making some, and it was really fun to record and very nice, and it was nice to listen back to, and I threw it on YouTube just to see if there would be any response, and also so I could share it a little easier and also listen myself, because I do listen to my own ASMR sometimes, which is
What?
it's very weird,
That's
I will say.
uncommon. Yes, that's very uncommon. Interesting.
It's usually, it's sometimes not by choice per se. Like
Hmm.
my own is not my first choice, obviously. It would be others, but usually if I'm in my Discord server listening or
Oh,
talking with
yeah.
people, people play it on the music bot
Yes.
because like, hey, you made this. We like listening to it. I'm like, what you do, but it's weird hearing myself talking to me. It's like,
Yeah.
what is this? Um, but yes, and the response that I got to that first video was it blew everything that I could have ever expected out of the water. I wasn't expecting anything even, but I certainly was not expecting the response that it got. So I continued now with also a little bit more motivation to say, well, I suppose other people like this as well. So I will try and do some things that others want as well, rather than just me. Because if it were up to me, I would probably just sit and pet the microphone constantly because it's my favorite trigger. But it's been a very interesting journey, and I'm very grateful for all of those who support me through it, and also meeting and getting to know a lot of the ASM artists who I used to be afraid of talking to.
Yes.
Um, they are actually a lot more down to earth and nicer than I would have ever thought. Well, not I never thought that they were mean, but they're not as intimidating, which it's nice. I love the community here. It's wonderful.
Yes, it's definitely been very interesting to see the furry ASMR artist or just furry ASMR community develop and change over the years, and seeing how all these, I guess, I don't know, I feel a little weird saying it, but like new age creators are making these. Um,
I like that term. New age ASMR.
yes. I don't know. It's very interesting. Interesting. I had a feeling. I was like kind of betting with myself at the beginning that you did not start with some of the older furry ASM artists like Pocket Fox, or there's a very long list of furry ASM artists that just kind of disappeared, if you will.
I think I heard about one. I believe you mentioned them one time. Were
Uh,
they a South Korean?
I believe they were South Korean.
Okay.
Uh, I think they go by Muma on a YouTube now, but they used to go by Ragu, I believe, and they had like an ear cleaning video, and I think there was one where they were doing laundry. And I don't know. They had really good videos though. They were very well thought out and planned and edited, and it's very sad to see how they just kind of disappeared. And then there was also this other one who I believe was like a toucan, and they used to make videos. And then there's, I believe, one called Alien Dog, and they used to make ASMR. And I don't know, you can find a lot of these in Pocket Fox's furry ASMR community video that they did a long, long time ago. But
Oh.
yeah,
I will say some of these, I feel like there's like they seem slightly familiar, as if I saw them on a YouTube search or something years ago, but just kind of glossed over it at the time. So I feel like I have not necessarily been aware, but have
their
not been
influence
a little,
transcends.
and also not too far outside of the circle.
Yes. Very interesting, nevertheless. Um, ASMR before furry ASMR, though. What is the first video you would say that got you interested in it?
I My partner listened to ASMR more. I certainly say more than I did.
Hmm.
They got me interested in it as a whole. I think um, I had seen. I know I had probably seen some over the years. Just popped in and skimmed through some videos and things just to see. What's interesting about me is that I don't actually get the tingles and everything
I've
from it.
I've heard a lot of people say that, but I feel like there's this mental thing where people don't think they have, but I feel like you probably have and you just don't know it. But I don't know. There
I
there are definitely times when I'll be like, yeah, I haven't had it in a long, long time. But they pop up at random. It's not really something you can seek out.
That may be more the case. I may have had it before, but just maybe I don't. Maybe I think it's far more common than
Oh no.
it really is.
It is very, or at least for me, it doesn't happen often. Like, it'll happen to the most random ones too. Like, the last one I can remember was just soda in, like, a bucket of ice.
That sounds interesting, but it sounds like it would, well, sound really good.
Yes.
for lack of a, that was a wonderful word choice by me. Um, I would say, though, that apart from just skimming through videos in the past and nothing terribly memorable, just because um, probably also due to outside influence, there was a time where I didn't. Um, I was more afraid to get interested in new things that might be viewed as weird by people I was associated with,
Hmm.
who I am no longer because they were a bad influence. Um, but I digress. So I would say I think Snowballs was one of the first memorable ones that I actually listened to as a whole, not just furry ASMR,
Hmm.
um, which played a big role, I think, in my interest in the furry side. But I have branched out to others, and I believe I have listened to stuff via my partner before I saw the Snowball video.
That's
But
very interesting.
I can't remember. I think Ephemeral Rift, something like that is their name.
Oh, yes, yes. Ephemeral Rift. What an interesting ASM artist he is. Man,
They,
I don't
their content is pretty good.
I haven't watched any of their stuff recently, but I remember back in the day, holy moly, the most random and funniest yet like Lovecraftian type videos.
Yes, they
Yes.
are very interesting in what they create, but I like that very much.
Yes. A very interesting character. And it's very interesting too. I keep on saying interesting. Um
Well, that's
because
interesting.
in in another server I'm in that's not related to ASMR whatsoever. Every now and then I'll see a meme of like a screenshot from a clip of one of his videos in like the meme channel. And it's not like trying to make him look bad, but it's just a standard meme. Like,
Hmm.
if I remember correctly, there's this one where he's like, here's your card to the high IQ club or something. And I don't know. It transcends, as I guess you could say.
It sounds like a meme in and of itself.
Yes.
I do like that kind of thing though. Creative. I think creativity is very important in this, not just this topic and field per se, but everything in general. I think without creativity, we are a very boring society.
Yes. Yes. Hmm. 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 What else did you want to talk about in regards to that? Because at the beginning of this topic, I guess you could say, you mentioned a couple things that you wanted to talk about, I believe.
Oh yes, this was specifically ASMR, but more broadly, my YouTube and how I actually got
Ah,
to the point where I am now.
yes.
Though I suppose that is a little off topic.
No, no, it's fine.
Well, in that case, so I started YouTube. I started doing it. I've been watching since as long as I can remember, really, probably as long as the platform has existed. But I actually started making my own content on it, I think almost 8 years ago, and never went anywhere, of course. That was a very small thing. But that was when I created my identity back then, my on YouTube. And I remade it in 2015 after deleting it. And then it got deleted in 2015, and then I remade it later that year, and then that one got deleted in 2016. Mind you, these were all the same channel names,
Mm.
so it was very interesting. And then I remade it again in 2017, and now it's in essence just dead. But I have made a lot of content through the years, and through that have gotten, I will say, at least half decent at editing things and figuring out what sounds and looks the best and people usually like, what is easy on the eyes and the ears, for instance. So it's a good experience that I have gained through that. that I think has also helped me in regards to ASMR and in addition to listening to ASMR, because it has given me a little handle on um, making sure my production quality is good, as well as doing things that and making sounds that are not like too loud and or something like that, for lack of a better explanation.
Mm, I think that was a pretty good one. But yeah, uh, I know you mentioned about the editing a little bit ago. Uh, I've also been doing YouTube for quite a while, and my editing is not too complicated, but I wouldn't say I don't know much about it. There's definitely a lot of things that I can do that I don't do that I should maybe do. But yes, it would be very interesting to learn a little more about editing and softwares and stuff.
It is a, it takes longer depending on what it is you do. So
Yes.
if you are to just make very simple edits, you can learn that relatively quickly and do a great job of it. Um, but never be afraid to branch out and try new things. Unfortunately, I think I bit off more than I could chew, and I think that was my downfall in terms of why I created less and less content over time. Um, as I got busier in life, I also created less content because of that, but also because of the fact that I would sink so much time into editing because I would try and make things really extravagant. And I'm a little bit of a perfectionist in that regard, I think. I try and make everything really good and up to really high standards of mine. And I don't know if they turn out that way in the end, but I am usually satisfied with them. The only problem is that it takes 10 times as long as it normally would to create things. Though with that comes a lot of experience in a relatively shorter amount of time per se. But at the same time, when you are trying to do 10 different things at once and are improving all of those, you could say that yes, you will improve faster, though you will have to sacrifice a lot of things by doing so,
Hmm. Hmm.
such as your time. Really, that's the main thing, just your time.
Yes. Hmm. I'll be honest. That didn't really go where I was thinking it was going to go, but that's okay.
I am sorry if
No, no. I don't know. It's very complicated, I guess you could say. Um, but I think it would be better to move on to a different topic. Your Twitch. How long have you been doing that?
that is also kind of an interesting story. Have been doing it since I made a Twitch in 2015 as well, and in fact, that Twitch is that old, and I didn't do very much on it until then. I did stream on YouTube instead of Twitch for a long time. I moved to Twitch solely in September of 2019 and was doing that for a long time, but as I got busier, started doing it less.
Hmm.
But it, for me at the time, it was easier because I could still make graphics and things that I wanted to create for it, but I didn't have to worry so much about, well, editing a final project per se. Everything was just live going out. So it was nice. And also, the most important thing for me was interacting with people in real time rather than later after the fact.
Hmm.
And I think that interacting with a fan base or community, if you have one, is very rewarding in some ways and very nice. It's very nice getting to know people.
Yeah. Calling back to the Starbucks thing, yeah, it's very nice to just kind of talk to people and just kind of make their days better.
Very true.
So, what kind of things did you stream on Twitch, anyways?
It usually just me playing different games and things. Um, Mostly just that. Mostly playing games with a mix of real life things. Like if I was at a certain location, I would stream me being there. For instance, I was in New York one time and had a little live stream in Times Square just for fun.
Ooh,
Um, Things like that, but mostly games and different things.
that's nice. Hmm. Well, I believe there's not much else on my mind at the moment, so it might be a good time to start thinking about coming to an end here. But, there are some general things that I always like to do and bring up in different episodes. Like, for instance, I believe, well, I know, you are an American, like me. And I always
Yes.
had this what do you call it? Very's not the right word. But anyways, I'd always be interested in like regional foods and what people consider to be a regional food in their area. For instance, I would always ask, because with the Splash episode, I asked him what he thought American food was, I think. And it always interests me to know what other people thought American food was.
Hmm. It is interesting to me as well. And I feel like it's hard to describe specific American food. I feel like a lot of food is from other locations that has been Americanized. But when me thinking personally of actual American food, I'm not really sure what would come to mind apart from American fast food chains, perhaps. Though some local foods that I very much enjoy. I'm from the southern U.S. and I have a lot of family in Louisiana, and we enjoy Cajun Creole cooking because of that, because that is their heritage and lineage. So I grew up with crawfish etouffee and gumbo and things of the like. So I would say that is some of my favorite food that I do enjoy.
Interesting. Huh. You know, although I've lived in America all my life, I've never really been introduced to Cajun food that much. Although I've definitely had the opportunity, which is very interesting. I'm not too familiar with what it is other than the things you listed off. But yeah, that's really nice to know.
I will say if you do try it or do wish to try it, um, it would probably be better to go into an area that is in the southern U.S. or Louisiana to try and get, because while there are some, of course, there are some outside of that area that make it good, but it's almost as if having seafood when you're in like Montana. It's not really, as fresh as it could be, especially seafood. Um, but I feel like it's probably made the best in Louisiana and surrounding area.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. So, I believe that's about good enough for that. And the final thing I could ask, truly, is what would you like to ask? Did my mic cut out?
Yes, a little bit.
Ah.
Sorry.
What would you like to ask?
Hmm. Well, if I had anything to ask, it would be what made you want to start a podcast?
Huh. Well, okay, yes. So, for a long time now, I personally, for years, haven't really thought my voice is the most amazing, but I have been told a lot by like my family members or random people at school or just anything like that my voice apparently is good. And I guess I kind of was like, I guess if I practiced a little more, I could make it sound better. But that's kind of what started it, I suppose. Just kind of something to give me the chance to list my thoughts, because I don't really say much to anybody at all out loud.
Hmm.
So I just kind of had to have that. And I thought it would be an interesting experience to practice my voice. I mean, there's more to it than that, but that's kind of the main gist.
I think that's an interesting reason. I like that.
Thank you.
Hmm. I think your voice sounds fine, though. I think it's very fitting for a podcast, in fact.
Thank you. At the moment, though, it's very, not great. For instance, I have to cough for a moment real quick. Oh, oh gosh. Uh, my voice this week has been very coarse and rough and not great.
I hope you feel better soon.
Yeah. I had a bloody nose at like 3 in the morning, and that's kind of
Oh
what
no.
started all of this. And it lasted for like an hour. And
Oof.
I suppose since I was laying down before it happened and I didn't realize it was a bloody nose, I was just kind of like, taking it in. So
Mm.
it kind of messed up my throat a little bit. But it's been kind of getting better, but it's still definitely affecting me. Like, for instance, when I woke up today, I was like, I can't speak. And my voice was very off. Same with yesterday and the day before.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that, though. I hope
Ah,
it continues to improve.
yes. But it's not all that bad because we got to do this and this was really fun and thank you for giving me your time. You're a very kind person and it kind of makes things hard for me because I try to be kind to the guests and give them a lot of opportunity to do certain things. And yeah, I don't know. You're a very kind person.
Well, thank you. You are as well. And I very much appreciate you inviting me to come on.
Yes, yes, yes. Um, I feel like there's still one thing I'm forgetting to do though. Because we do that. I ask you about the food. I ask you about your favorite coffee or tea. I ask you about what you would like to ask, and I feel like there's one other important thing that I'm forgetting about.
Mm.
Oh, okay. Yes, I remember now. Because with all collaboration type things, you're supposed to give a moment to your guest to let them, like, what's the term for it? Plug their info, I suppose?
Oh, well, I can be found everywhere, actually. All of my social links I've recently combined under one lovely little website. It's literally just my name.uwu.ai. So, rali.uwu.ai is how you find everything about me. So, I figure that sounds a lot better than here is where you could find this.
Yes. I've always kind of, because you know how people have their cards and things. I
Hmm.
don't really know how to do that. I never knew they were a thing until like last year, and I was like,
Me
that's a
too.
very interesting. So I'll have to look into that at some point.
It's actually how I did mine. I say website, it's more just a card with a certain web domain. But
Oh, same thing. Potato, potato.
yes, I think card is actually a very useful website in that way.
But yeah, once again, thank you for coming on, and I think we can end it here.
Thank you for having me.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Not you. Not you. You've still got things. Howdy! It is the end of episode number 30, the RaliDali guest episode, and I should include a little post edit conversation. A little bit of bonus content, if you will, but at the same time, it's not overly bonus content. It's just some general things, general housekeeping things. Once again, thank you, RaliDali, for Raleigh, Raleigh Dolly. It's very hard for me to remember that it's not Rally, it's Raleigh Dolly, I think. But yeah, thank you once again, Raleigh Dolly, for coming on the podcast. I know you keep on saying thank me for allowing you, but I really think it was mostly up to you, to be honest. Thank you again. You are a very kind person. And yeah, so some general things about this episode. One, all of this week, I've been feeling a little sickly, if you will, and my voice is not up to par or my usual standard. So I might sound a little extra grumbly or cough here and there every now and then. Well, you already listened to the podcast, I assume. But yeah, sorry for that. Um, there were some things I wanted to bring up with Raleigh Dolly that we didn't bring up on the podcast, but then we ended up talking about afterwards, which was kind of funny. Um, VHS tapes, cassettes. What else was there? I think we talked about games for a little bit. We also talked about. What else did we talk about? We definitely talked a lot more about some other random things. We shared pictures of like sunsets and stuff. Apparently, Raleigh Dolly used to storm chase. I don't know if they still do. I assume they still do, but isn't that interesting? Storm chasing. I remember back when I was younger, I used to watch those storm chasing, not movies, but like shows, I think they were. And yeah, those were always cool. There were some other things that I wanted to bring up, but that's pretty much just the general stuff. Thank you once again, Raleigh Dolly. And yeah, I'll see y'all next time.